So, truth out. This is a story about social distancing in prisons because that's an area that we do need social distancing from because prisons are completely overcrowded. We have a prison industrial complex that likes to make money off of prisons, and I talk about this in my new album that I'm going to be putting out later. Shameless plug, but I do talk about the prison industrial complex and a lot of what it is. But they're overcrowded. They're for-profit prisons in this country. We have the largest population of prisoners in the world, which is fucking insanity as to why it would be okay. And at this point, we are. I think I would like to say that we're actively running out of things to make illegal. Right? Like fucking jaywalking is illegal. Like that's. Like we're putting people in prison for nonviolent offenses. Like we've criminalized protests against like things. States all across the country, like a month and a half ago, were ramping it up. The criminalizing protest thing has been going on since 2017. But that, like, they just ramped it up where they were like, if you say you don't like pipelines and you make a sign and you come up with chants and songs, we're going to fine you $250,000 and put you in prison for 6 years because we're Louisiana and we think pipelines are people. Like that's the way that some of these laws are operating. So people are going to prison for these crazy laws. And when all this stuff started happening I don't think I can say what it's actually called because there's a bunch of censorship going on right now. So I have to come up with the different things. So this really bad situation that we're in, 47 state prisons, ICE detention centers, they all canceled visitations. They canceled visitations as a way to prevent the spread of this pandemic that we're in. I hope I can say pandemic without social media being like, it's over. It's all fake news, 47 state prisons and ICE detention centers took away visitations, which is like this is what people wait for. When you're in prison for that long, most of them for nonviolent drug offenses and stuff like that, is like, this is like, people wait for this. And not only that, there's tons of cases where like they'll be tried in Kansas, but they'll be put into prison in California. So in order for people to go visit, they have to make this huge journey in order to see them. So they had to cancel the visit. But now here's the problem: is that this thing can still spread in prisons because of the guards and the prison workers and just the state of the prisons themselves, right? I'm pretty sure when you think of prisons, you don't think of sterile environments. Like that's, like when I say prison industrial complex, everybody isn't like, oh yes, Lysol, an overwhelming amount of Lysol. Like that's not something people associate prisons with. And prisoners are more likely to get sick. They are immunocompromised because, they're in a hyper stressful situation. If our prison systems were more about rehabilitation and responsibility, perhaps they wouldn't be. But most prisons are violent. The guards are violent. They're not in sanitary conditions. Like when you have an open toilet 3 feet from where you're supposed to like lay in bed and chill out, I feel like that's not like a calm and soothing environment. From my understanding, from things that I've read, as well as cinemas, is that no one is doing yoga and listening to like ambient noise of waterfalls. That's not what they have in prison. That's not like played over the prison radio. It's just sort of the ambient sound of maybe a nice rain or something. Like there's nothing soothing about it. So that and when you're in a higher state of stress, it's easier for you to get sick. So prisoners are immunocompromised. The guards are coming in from the outside. We're not testing. We don't know who they've had contact with. And I think in New York, the article stated that in New York, there were actually cases where guards got sick. They tested positive. Some of them died. And they were like, but we only had minimal contact with like a couple of the prisoners, who then had contact with fucking everybody, because, we have an overpopulated prison system. So, prisons make it virtually impossible to, practice the CDC, hand washing regulations, the CDC, cleaner regulations. They can't have hand sanitizer because hand sanitizers have alcohol in them. So they are restricted from having hand sanitizer in prisons. And most of these areas are not sterilized. You can't, I don't think you, like, I don't know how they would achieve something like that. Not only that, but a lot of the prisoners that reporters have gotten a chance to talk to have said that the correction officers are also always sick. They're sneezing and coughing all the time, probably because corrections officers are also immunocompromised, right? They're also having a hard time keeping their immune system up because they have a super fucking stressful job too, because, they got to assault all these prisoners. It's very stressful. Got to pick and choose. You got to make a list. It's a lot of work. Healthcare in prisons, healthcare outside prisons isn't particularly awesome in America either. But the healthcare in prisons is, believe it or not, this might come as a very surprising statement. It's not great in prisons, you guys. Some of you guys might be shocked out there, but it is not great. It's super not great. So what they're saying is if you get sick, if you're showing symptoms, they'll just give you Tylenol. That's their healthcare plan to take care of the situation. It's really, really bad situation. So one of the things that taking away these visitations has done, guys, it's hard enough for us to not have physical interaction, right? To not see each other face to face, to not, hug each other, give ourselves. Hey, I'm a huggy guy. I think if you've hung out with me, I'm a hugger. So that's been really difficult. I've been hugging Spider-Man a lot. That's what I've been doing. Is hugging old Spidey back there. That's been my physical interaction, but they're not really getting any of that sort of stuff in prisons right now. And taking that away, that's really, really fucking difficult, and that's going to put them in probably a worse mental state than they already are in. Phone calls and video streaming services, they cost money in prison, and prisoners barely make any money as it is. America's prison system is basically prison slavery. And so right now there's been a big call, big push for free phone calls, free video calls for prisoners so that they can at least keep in communication with their family. Ayanna Pressley, Massachusetts, said that this was specifically meant to maintain family bonds. I don't know a whole lot about Ayanna Pressley, but this seems like a nice thing to do for people. But what they're actually offering, what these prisons are actually offering, is they're like, well, we'll reduce the rates. We'll just bring the rates down. We'll bring the prices down of the of the calls and stuff. That'll be good, right? That's probably fine. Which is this is no different than how they're treating the American working class and poor people in this country, right? We're talking about, Bernie Sanders is talking about $2,000. Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang was pushing another emergency UBI plan, and you got a couple of these politicians coming out and being like, we'll give you loans when you're not making any money, and then you can pay us back when you've not made any money. And it's that's not what we need. You made up money for Wall Street. You literally made up money for Wall Street. and the airline industry who's not giving us any refunds, right? And it's like it's the same way that they deal with it, where they're like, we can't just help people. What we'll do is we'll decrease how much money you're going to give us, and then you guys can cover the difference when this is over, and we don't know when it's going to be over. Cool? Yeah. And we're like, fucking no. It's a bad idea. So here's a way that Iran tried to deal with it. Iran released 85,000 of its prisoners. And, because they were in similar conditions where it's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for them. So they released 85,000 prisoners temporarily. I think once this situation is over, they have to go back to serve their sentence. But I think we could do that in America. And it's very simple. And I think this is a very good plan. If somebody knows how to write legislation and would like to translate this into legislative terms, please feel free to do it. But here's my plan. I think what we need to do is we release these prisoners and then put them into all of the empty hotels across this country, particularly the Trump hotels. Hotels are more sterilized than prisons, maybe not the Trump ones, but usually they're more sterilized than prison. I've walked into, walked into fucking hotel rooms where I feel like I'm just walking into bleach, just like the air is, so that's very sanitary. I think when my eyes are burning, because I set foot inside of a Quality Inn, that's a very sterile environment. I think that's what we need to do. We just and then you can have guards and shit standing outside, and we'll have hand washing stations, and you wash your hands, and you go in, and you talk to the prisoners, and that's a way that the hotel industry can have its employees taken care of, considering you have assholes like Richard Burr and Dianne Feinstein who cashed out. They sold their stocks in these industries right before this crash happened. I talked about that yesterday. And like so this way the hotel industry is taken care of, because the prison industrial complex can take all the money that they make from prisoners and pay hotel staff. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun thing to do. I think this is a genius idea. Hey everybody, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Please share it. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. I'm going to be posting videos pretty much every day, and the video that you just watched is from a live video that I did on Facebook, and I will be doing them every single Sunday. So if you're not following me on Facebook, please do so, and then you can join in on the conversations that we'll be having live on Facebook. But in the meantime, this would be when I would be telling you about some live stand-up dates, but right now I don't have any of those, and I'm not sure when we'll be resuming live events. So hit the like button, share it, and if you do have the means to, if you are able to, you can donate at ramennoodlescomedy.com/donate. You can become a sustaining member, or just make a one-time donation, whatever works for you. And if you can't, no problem. There will be tons of content out for free, because I think we all need it. We all need to be good to each other right now, so stay well.